5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. To His holy prophet. Noble Jew Ali. Islam. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speeches while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is sending on a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem His people from their sinful ways. Noble Jew Ali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people on our side of the nation that claim it was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme they can to disqualify me so they themselves may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the last few years. Islam. So today we're just going to dealing with some questions, because there was a few online questions we got for the past 2 weeks or whatever that we didn't get to address. So we're just going to deal with that. And this is from Raw Flying Featherbait. I'm the one that commented on the YouTube channel, Triple More JJJ. How far from Lansing, Michigan are you? We're not nowhere near there, but we're close to Windsor, which is just up the street from there. But what is it, 4 hours or something?
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. I'm joining USAR, United States of America Republic, which I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, but your name keeps popping up as a source and a true Moor, which I find so hard to get a response from. I've literally reached out to 5 different temples or lists of names on the Moorish directory for sheiks in Michigan and received 0 responses. Then there is a Moor who is selling ID cards out of Hawaii or Ohio. I thought that was weird as well. I appreciate your time. Love, truth, peace, freedom, justice. Moorish. Groups, organizations, NGO, religious corps, etc. All these things are connected to the Moorish nation Moorish Empire Moroccan Empire. Anybody who's historian or whatever will tell you that the people went from their tribal connection Islam to their national connection, then to their empire connection, right? If we say Moorish nation, then that comprises of many different tribes, right? If we say Moorish Empire, that's made up of many different nations which come from many different tribes. When people say they're starting something for the Moors, the reference point of that thing is in that being's lifetime. So there's no historical longevity to it. As soon as somebody says, oh, I started something for the Moors, automatically in your mind, you're supposed to go to, oh, so then clearly that's something that's part of the Moorish stronghold. That thing created is not the thing. So when someone says that they're creating USAR, United States of America Republic, for Moors, so that Moors could be part of the Republic, like we talked about on Blog Talk, that's a misconcept, because the republics were created for Europeans. The republics is not our jurisdiction for us to be in to say we're part of the republic. Our duty is only to enforce that the people who are claiming to be government are supposed to be a Republican form. They're not supposed to be Democrats, they're not supposed to be Commonwealth, they're not supposed to be colonies, they're not supposed to be none of that. They're supposed to be exercising as a republic, which means it's the people who really control it, not those people who are in the seat. But when you get into people creating republics to try to tie Moors to, or creating something, whatever it is that they say that they're creating to tie Moors to, know that the timeline of that thing is when that individual created it. So, no matter how brilliant their idea is, no matter how sufficient the thing is that they're doing, it's connected to something bigger than it. So never look at that thing as the all and be all, because, well, they have their own plate, so they must be doing right, so let's all just run over there. Well, they're doing that in that jurisdiction. They might not be able to do it in every jurisdiction. That's why they're doing it. Because remember, with the creation of the quote-unquote states, just like the creation through the Berlin Conference of all these different portions of land masses, you're going to get different perspectives based on the dumbing down that was done to in each location, right? This is why we have the reference point of Noble Drew Ali. which, you know, if his stuff is still around today, then somebody saying they created something for the Moors can't supersede what he did. And if those people aren't taking what they did and tying it to what Noble Drew Ali did, then these people aren't credible either. Because the template for the liberation of Asiatics in America is what Noble Drew Ali brought. That's the template. That's the template everybody followed. That's the template Malachi York followed, why he was able to get land, build pyramids and all that stuff. That same template that NOI followed. That's why they got what they have right now. Because they took the template. But with taking the template, they left the nationality aspect out of it. Which makes their template now from 1930, not before it. And the more that you erode your, like for example, Drew Ali said, this flag, 10,000 years. So this flag has a template of 10,000 years. Ain't nobody else that has a flag ever put anything on the record as far as among the Asiatics in America that the flag that they have is ancient, other than the individual who presented the flag. Which again, if we look out there, we'll see today that this flag's still out there. But the people who are using the flag, they're not tied to 10,000 years, they're tied to 1956. They're not completely connected to the full historical legacy. They're attached to a portion, right? And then you have those people that did 56. They were like, well, yo, if we're going to claim anything, we're going to claim this. The people who come up today, in the past 5-10 years, that say that they're connection, Moorish, whatever, they're further removed than the people in 56 who claim this from the 10,000 years. Because they can, the Moors can actually tie themselves to the 10,000 years. But because of the issue of people knowing that our people are game to fall victim to opportunists. Our people are open to be victim. They're not going to fight being a victim. They're open to be, you know, it's like what we're dealing with here, that there's Moors that are here, right, that support. Then there's Moors that are here that half support, right? The half support Moors are half supporting because, you know, nothing's really going on to prove to them that they should be on this side of the fence. When it's their activity that's supposed to be going on, that is supposed to inspire other people to say, oh, well, let me get on this side of the fence too.
Exactly.
But they're taking their position as you know, limbo. That they can be in it, but not be in it. And when the time's right, then they'll be in it, but then, you know, if it's not right, then they're not going to be in it. Right?
Can I cut you for a second, Cujo?
Yeah, man.
Empress says today, upon certain things that I've been talking to her about, she got upset. She's like, what the bleep? Is this a convenience store that everybody thinks this is? You walk in, take whatever you want, and you leave?
Right.
Like, I said, this is a system. She's not fully on the knowledge, but she's realized with frustrations that I've gone through, it's like, they think this is a convenience store.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, walk in, do whatever, you know, look around, pick this up, put it back, you know. Oh, I don't like this juice, so I don't like this chips, whatever, and put it back.
Yeah.
A lot of Uncle Claymores, they think this is a convenience store.
Yeah.
That they think they're gonna come in, do whatever, then bounce. It's not like that. Like, the system is designed against us.
Right.
You know, and that's it. And anyway, go ahead, continue.
Right.
Sorry for cutting you.
No, right and exact.
Yeah, so,
So,
I just want to,
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
I want to say that I don't think that I don't think the system is against us. I think what has happened is, and Amara, you and I have talked about this, I think we have, due to sort of the results of the activity done against us as a people, we've come back at this from a perspective of wanting to foster love and inclusiveness within our nation. So what we have done, unfortunately, is we've confused nationalism with the other, which is free and yours to claim, with all of the other aspects of this. And what's happened is because of our indoctrination, also because of our want to love and connect, it has been hard for us to separate the wheat from the chaff within that activity. That's what I think. I think all of us have seen that and are understanding that. And so your nationality is yours and free. But for example, the paper that it's on and the ink and those things, the prophet said those were the things that you should be compensating for.
Right.
But then what has happened, unfortunately, is we have then felt, due to the fact that we have been murdered in the streets and had whatever happened to us, that, well, if the man needs me to come and show up and help him do this or do that, and what's happened is opportunists on one level, people who genuinely need help on the other level, I think have been taking advantage of that, as well as we have wanted to give that in the hopes that it would engage and light that fire. But I think that we have all been seeing the fact that there have been people, maybe, what do they say, by omission and by commission, have been acting in nefarious ways that have been very, very hurtful to the nation as a whole. So I just wanted to clarify that a bit, because I think you're absolutely right with that, but I know you know personally that it's not for a lack of understanding that these people don't know that.
Well, I'd like to say something too while we're on the subject.
Oh.
Islam.
Let's do it. Let's go.
It's, we're a nation, but we're also trying very hard to be a family. And in a family, when you have children, you bring them up and you do for them. Once they become adults, they do for the family. And those who are not doing for this family are still thinking like children. That's the bottom line. You're waiting for someone to do for you when we're all supposed, the prophet said, whatever you did before you came into this knowledge, you're kind of excused for that. But anything you do after you get into this knowledge, it's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
And there's no reason why anybody's supposed to come into this knowledge and decide that, we're waiting for someone else to do this for us. I'm waiting for a Messiah.
Right.
There is no Messiah.
Right.
And the more each member of the family puts in, the stronger the family becomes. Like my mother used to say, may peace be upon her, when one of us rock the boat, we all sink. And the same thing applies. When one of us, if you have to pick up that table over there by yourself and it weighs 300 pounds, you're going to have a hard time.
Right.
But if we all get up in this room and we all pick up the table together, it's a piece of cake.
Right. Right. Islam. Next question from Brother Azad Bey. How does one balance this life of awakening to being a Moor? What can one do to understand that they have to keep moving forward in living within contracts, even if they don't want to? Should we have a passport to travel aboard? Thanks in advance. How does one balance this life of awakening to be a Moor? Well, all the questions are kind of relative. So, Brother Omar and I were talking about this with regard to when we look at where we're at as a people, but it doesn't match up with the information that we're studying and finding out or whatever. You know what I mean? Like where we should be based on this information, we shouldn't be where we're at right now. We should be way past where we're at right now, right? So we came up to the conclusion about always coming back to the fact that we were born into this, right? Like the corruption and all that we're experiencing, witnessing, is not something that we were involved in at its inception. It's something that has been happening, and we're catching it as it's happening. right? So the first thing with regard to the transition is Moors continually recognizing that you in your proper status, you have a right to contract in your own land.
Exactly.
So it's important for you to know how to live within contracts.
And just
Because-
to interject and to understand exactly what a contract is.
Yeah, what makes
And
a
if there's only
contract.
one signature on that, that's not a contract.
Right,
And 99% of the things that we're signing only have our signature on it.
right.
Therefore, they haven't been contracts.
Have not been contracts.
So we better understand that, overstand that, understand that.
So, recognizing that contracting is happening, right? You know, like the question, you know, do you need a passport to travel? You don't need one. You know what I mean? It's like, you don't need, you know, like we were talking with regard to right to travel. And then people are, well, you know, when's the last time you've been stopped? Well, I haven't been stopped in about 3 years or whatever. Well, you know, how's your plates? Oh yeah, plates, you know, issue with the plates or whatever. Insurance, yeah, I got insurance. Saw your license. Oh man, they suspended that so much times. No, I can't, you know what I mean? I can't use it as anything, you know what I mean? As soon as it pulls up, it's gonna pull up that it's expired or whatever. Well, that's right to travel, right? That's really exercising the right.
Exactly.
It's just hidden under a plate and a card and things like that. But you are exercising the right. If you don't have the instrument that they say you need, and you didn't go check to get one when it expired, then clearly you're driving without a license. Well, if you're driving without a license, that's right to travel, right? If you have a license and you're going from point A to point B and not engaging in commerce, that's right to travel. Because license doesn't apply at that point, right? Now, on the road, so-called jurisdiction, or whatever, you know what I mean? There's, I wouldn't even say 50-50 as far as the success rate of exercising certain things. But it comes back again to, once you get this information, you have to decide for oneself, how does this information, if it does, apply to my life? Does it even apply to my life? Right? And what seems to be the norm is the parts of this information that have to do with people receiving some benefit that they have been neglected from having, right? So the fact of not having quote unquote money, and then there being a birth certificate, and then account with 50 million or whatever like that, then okay, then that's gonna draw certain people. But and then somebody who, you know, they got tickets up the yin yang, then oh well, because of right to travel, they'll come into this. Or somebody sent them a letter and they don't know how to deal with it, but they saw something and then they said that if you do this, oh, that's all I have to do, then that'll bring them into this, right? But the concept of being a Moor and then how do I deal with everyday life, it's an oxymoron, because you're a Moor. Like whether you had 10 grand in debt, whether you discharged it, whether you had a license or you had nothing, you're still a Moor. You're still a Moor. You're still a Moor going through everyday life. After you say, I'm a Moor. Well, you're a Moor. You're just making it known that you know now. But prior to that, it was known. It was known that we are not the things that we claim to be. Due to us being these things that we're claimed to be, we got held to certain contracts. That now we're finding out how diabolical the beast is. That they didn't get you, take your head and whatever stuff only. They also got you on contracts. They also got you on paper.
Yep.
And when we look at travel abroad, again, this is one of these things that a significantly high number of people have had some type of thing happen to them in their life where these people are saying you can't go anywhere. Like you're not getting on a plane. I don't care if you have the money to go. I don't care if you can buy your ticket, whatever like that. Because of whatever, you're not going. And again, seeing this as a means of how to get out of something. And as soon as you go there with this, you're going to get trapped. Because the individuals know that you weren't on this information 2 years ago. They got birth record through the license. They know your every move, every single time without this knowledge that you went to court. Trust me, that date was specifically picked for you to go there on that day so you lose, which is why you lost. And the day that you went there and, things kind of went not the way it was supposed to, or you got out of something, or after you left, you're like, oh, thank you for just giving me hours and not whatever. That's them on using their discretion in their arena. That if we weren't in there, it wouldn't even matter. Which comes again into the connection that people have to this information is get out of something. You're probably not going to get out whatever you're in, first of all, because that's not what this is for, right? And if you are going to get out of whatever you're in, you have a supreme obligation after that point to let everybody else know who was in that situation, what you did to get out of it. If you don't, just don't worry. You got some more stuff that you're going to have to deal with just for the simple fact that you didn't put somebody else on.
And if you're thinking like a child, you're coming in to get out of something, just like a child does.
Just
You're
like
in
a
some
child
kind of
does.
trouble. I'm going to get a beating. I got to find an alibi. This is what I'm getting into this for. And I'm not thinking
This is my
about the
alibi.
family, you know.
Alibis are more. Gun under the seats and all that type of stuff. Well, not really. You got something, Omar?
Just another layer to what you were talking about in terms of the getting out of something. Part of the matrix that they create is that most times that's when you are acting from a perspective of defending yourself. Most times you've hired one of their spies
Right.
to then try and do some activity. So alone you've been compromised from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So that itself is the next layer to it that they put on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the very nature of the system. You need someone to help
Somebody
you out
to
of
help
this.
you out.
And the second thing, it's not about getting out of anything. It's about getting into something.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's really about
Islam.
getting into something. It's not
Yeah.
about getting out of anything. It's really about getting into your nationality.
Mhm.
That's really what this is about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I had a situation where I was helping a friend with the kangaroo course. So he went on Thursday. He called me maybe the night before. Said, I need help. I don't think I got the information, but so he came early in the morning. He went through everything. He's like, yo, I'm not gonna cross the bar. I'm like, just cross the bar. Don't be afraid, man. Don't be afraid of the mic.
Yeah.
He ended up going there before me, and it was ugly by the time I got there. So I probably told him, go sit down. So he was sitting down, So when I got there, they were dealing with the other people, but then they recalled his name.
Yeah.
But then the thing that you were saying now, where they sit, like they don't even need you. So the case was done ex parte, ex parte. So they ex partied him, and he's there, and I'm like, yo, go there and stand on the mic and let them know. Don't let them slander your name, because what they're saying now is that there's not enough evidence, right, based on whatever happened.
Yeah.
To even charge you.
Charge.
Yeah, they're like, if we were to do that, then it would be an infringement. But he doesn't understand.
Yeah,
It's all
that's
jargon
what-
to him, right?
yeah.
So I'm like, yo, they got nothing. Go on the stand, man. Just go defend the name or say whatever. Then I heard them saying, oh, should we amend the information? The evidence, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm getting really mad,
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, come, let's go outside, because I know that the JP and all them can hear me talking in the back, like, yo, what are you doing? So we went outside. When I said, yo, let's go talk outside, my friend's going outside literally, like, he gave up. Like, no, man, yo, come here, man. So I told him what was going on, whatever. I think that they dealt with the case without him, period, right? Because he went up again, but then they're like, you sit down. But he didn't have the fight in him, he didn't have the spirit, right? So we spoke to the Crown, so what I told him to do is write a letter to himself saying that he's power of attorney, right? So that you can talk now, You're able to talk, whatever. So the Crown's like, oh, you didn't hear what hurt? What happened? It's like, no, what happened? Yeah, the case was acquitted.
Yeah.
So I had to ask him again, what does that mean, just so that my friend could have an understanding? Because if I tell him it's like,
Yeah, he's not here.
no, man.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, there's no evidence, and whatever, so yeah, it's acquitted, it's thrown away. So,
Yeah.
again, you don't have to be present,
Right.
even to get remedy. Well, he never really got remedy, but
But
still,
at the same time,
yeah.
if it's done, right? And again, like, people are gonna come into this information, get some reference points, have a situation like that, and then just because of their lack of what's going on, miss all the action stuff, all the stuff that was supposed to make them, oh my gosh, that just happened, or whatever like that. Like,
now even with that, because I told my friend, don't celebrate, because he didn't go in there and dealing with the situation properly.
yeah.
So although got acquitted, don't
get
be-
hyped,
yeah,
They're coming
because
for you still.
yeah,
They're coming
don't
for
get
you.
hyped.
you didn't get the remedy through actually taking the proper course of action, right?
Yeah.
It's a fluke, pretty much, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
he has to go back and study again, or find out why was it
Why was it
right?
acquitted? Yeah.
On what details.
Because you never know, it could still be in the process of them coming after him. Could still be an investigation on him. Gotta realize that. So they're gonna come back at you anytime.
And he doesn't have the affidavits clearing, like putting himself in action,
Mhm.
proper status or
Yeah.
anything, right? It's just
Right. He
all
just
hearsay,
goes-
or
yeah.
he's
He just
invoking it right there,
freestyle.
right? But he's afraid of the microphone, so if you're not even putting it on the record there, what record is there?
Right.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a fluke. That's I told him, like,
Yeah.
don't celebrate yet. So the next time it won't work out like that.
They're gonna work like that next time, guaranteed.
Well, maybe this was just a test for him to really come into himself.
You wanna know what the truth was? I was operating this conveyance, I crashed it, I went and served the officer with my affidavits, let them know who I was.
Mhm.
They still tried to charge him with the liability, right?
Mhm.
Because he contracted with them, so he went to court. But again, when they seen like, the highway is not the right street, because where they're claiming that the accident happened,
Mhm.
they're saying that the conveyance was operated on a different street, but that wouldn't make any sense, so they wanted to amend the streets and this and that.
Mhm.
No, if that's what the
Yeah.
officer wrote in his
Right,
notes,
right.
that's
what
the
it
evidence.
That's the evidence, yeah,
Right,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
They couldn't move against me, and the evidence was already wrong.
Yeah.
So like I said, in another situation, it might not work in that.
Might not work.
Right? The officer might be on point with his information, and you won't have a private citizen that's actually
Yeah,
delegating
yeah,
certain
yeah,
things
yeah.
for you too, right? So
Wow.
Right? This was a YouTube one, so we're gonna try and deal with these ones best we can. Questions. Who is Allah or Allah according to the Moors? why do Moors worship Allah that was created by the Roman Catholic Church? Isn't Allah or Allah the God of the people who had descended from Ishmael and his people who live richly in Saudi Arabia today? Okay, so clearly, um, all right. So, Quran questions 46. What did Jesus say would make you free? Truth. What is truth? Truth is ought. What is ought? Ought is Allah. Can truth change? Truth cannot change or pass away. What other names do we give to truth? Holy breath. What do you have to say about the holy breath? All we have to say is that it is great, it is good, it was, is, and evermore to be. So Allah is man, because we're taught when man worships man, he's honoring Allah. When man honors man, Allah gets recognized. Allah gets appreciated too, because Allah is one with man. Right? Arm, leg, arm, head. Arm, leg, arm, head. Allah. Once again, man, which is woman first, being represented. Now when they start going into comparing what Muslims think Allah is and what Moors think Allah is, that's where they get into their confusion of even bringing the question from that perspective. Because remember, a lot of the people who are on social media or whatever like that, when they're coming at challenging the Moors, they're trying to prove themselves right, not prove us wrong. Right? Their attempts is not to prove us wrong. They want to believe whatever it is that they've been taught is the truth. Right? When we have people bringing up this concept of what does Allah mean and why does Noble Drew Ali say Jesus, and going into the religious tone, they clearly don't get that this is about birthrights, which we're not talking about religion. And if we're talking about anything relative to religion, we're talking about astrology, cosmology, you know what I mean, honor of the universal forces. We're not dealing with, the holy book and prayers and do prayers this way, and because we're doing religious things, right? There is a blending of concepts that create the misconcepts that make people not want to recognize that they're Moors. Because they're looking at all the things that are not relevant to the fact that we're Moors. When we say we're Moors, we're talking about bloodline. It has nothing to do with religion. It has nothing to do with history and all that stuff. It has to do with DNA. It has to do with your biological makeup. Because there's either highly melanated people or lowly melanated people, as far as the beings on the planet. Whether we're looking at human beings aqua beings, livestock, feline, whatever. There's high concentrations of melanated ones, there's low concentration of melanated ones. Alright? As soon as they start getting into challenging from religious reference points, it proves that the individual is religiousized. The individual is indoctrinated. Because they're going from a perspective of not knowing that, you know, if we're saying a higher force, there's no way that it's just out there. If we're talking about a supreme being, there's no way that the supreme being is out there but not within. Has to be looked at from within as well. Right? Right. What did Allah do for so-called blacks? Right? Right? What did Allah do for so-called blacks? Allah sent so-called blacks prophet in 1913, teaching them truths about their nationality and birthrights. They denied him. Now they're suffering and complaining and asking questions about what did Allah do when it was already done. And not only with that one individual, but multiple individuals after him, Allah sent to these same so-called black people to try to get their stuff together. Allah even went through Morgan Freeman, told these people about forget Black History Month and all that. You're not black people. I'm American. Don't call me African and all that. They're still not hearing it.
I see him talking to a European.
Yeah.
You tell a European, you know what? You don't call me black, and I don't call you white.
Right?
Simple as that.
Simple as that. Simple
So
as
now it's
that.
for you to wonder, who are you then? If you're not black, you're not white. Who are you? He's not gonna say it, but you know he's none of those. You know that he's not black and he's not white.
Right? What is what is my nationality? Moorish American is our nationality. What is the meaning of the blue star located behind you? He was referring to Brother Zephaniah's message to the Hebrew Israelites class. And that's a green star, first of all. It's not blue star. And the green star, the points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The points represent arm, leg, arm, head. The pentagram, we already know, we can do our little rituals and stuff like that. It also represents Venus. There's many different meanings for the 5-point star. Not only because it's a Moorish star or whatever like that. It's a star. Stars come from the universe. Nobody has monopoly on stars. Nobody will say, oh yeah, the star is our star, and then those guys can't say it's their star because it's a star.
Yeah.
If it's a star, then it belongs to nature. Man doesn't have jurisdiction over it to claim it or whatever like that. But we do know that the 5-point star is relevant in many cultures. Everybody's culture has a 5-point star, and it has some type of meaning to those people, right?
There you go.
What is the cosmos that your nationality is part of according to Moore's doctrine? Right? What is the cosmos that our nationality is part of according to the Moore's doctrine? Now, is what we were talking about. Was it you and I talking about with the doctrine? No. Well, just when people bring up doctrine, they're trying to imply that, you know, this ain't really the Moore's doctrine is, you know, faulty or whatever, right? You know, 'cause they could have said school of thought, or, you know, they could have used a different term than doctrine, right? The cosmos relative to Moorish American nationality is the same cosmos relative to any nationality that has to do with Asiatic beings.
The cosmos
That-
is the universe.
The cosmos is the universe,
Universe.
right? So when you go to
It's just
the
that's the whole point.
ancient Egyptians, for example, right? They have the holes in the pyramid, you know, from the chamber of the deceased pharaohs or whatever like that, pointing out to Orion. That's where they're saying their stuff is. They also have some stuff pointing to Sirius. They also have some stuff pointing to other directions, other constellations, right? Now we already know that so-called Egyptians are part of the North African family. So when we go across that landscape, right, all those North people recognize that there's a earthly place that they would say that they domicile. But if you talk to their ancestors, they're not from here. There's a outside of Earth reference point as to the origin of these people.
So come back with a cosmic energy. It's an energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, what is the cosmos that we trace ourselves back to? It's the cosmos. There's no one place out there that we're from
True.
as dark-skinned people.
True.
There's not one constellation that we're from. You know what I mean? If we're saying that we're one of the 12 zodiac, which is like billions of stars or whatever, then clearly we're not just from where these people in Egypt, ancient Egypt, said that we're from. Right? You got some more?
Just read the question again, because I'm gonna refine it, and then because I think. Yeah.
What is the cosmos that your nationality is part of according to Moore's doctrine?
Well, like you were saying, the doctrine part seems to sort of relate to some sort of like planned sort of dissertation that they're talking about. But what one thing speaks to me is the very thing that you were talking about to begin with, which is the star. Right? The star is representative of the cosmos. The moon, as well as representative of the cosmos. So those two things on a mundane level to me connect to that.
Right.
As well as if through our sort of the next level to that could be the cosmos of the sun, the SUN, as well as the other planets that sort of are connected to our sort of daily references, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all those things. That would be our connection on a mundane level to the cosmos and that relationship behind that. So in asking that, that could be part of what that doctrine is, because when you look at the seven Elohim, or the Eloah, which then connect to the cosmos in that relationship, you can see that being in that,
Right.
that reference.
That reference one as well. Yeah. Where did the name Moors originate from? Again, right? Yeah, we're gonna skip that one. Did all people of Israelites,
Right there. That's,
Jacob
that's
or
Maury's.
I got my bad.
Jacob, join together with the Canaanites? We're gonna skip that one because Brother Yusuf just did a video about the connection between, you know, the fraud of this nationality that these people are claiming called Hebrew Israelite. Right, so we'll skip that one. You all see the video for that one for your answer on that. Why do you wear that red hat on your head? What does it represent? Right. Well, like we tried to school Corey Holcomb. Just go to Corey Holcomb, Canaanland Moors, and you'll get the whole Fez stuff. Pretend like you don't know what's up or whatever.
Why does a so-called Jew wear a yarmulke? Why does a Sikh wear a turban? Why do you ask these questions?
They wouldn't dare call theirs a hat though.
No, it's
Right?
they're
They wouldn't
headdress.
go there with them.
Exactly.
Only with Moors they're gonna play They're little stupid. They don't know what they know. They don't know what they're talking about or whatever, right? You know, but they know that they know how to say the Jewish hat. They're gonna call it a yarmulke. They're gonna know that much. They know that it's a kushli, hijab or whatever like that.
There you go.
As soon as it gets to the fez, they're delusional. Right? The Holy Bible plagiarized from the walls of Egypt and from the 42 laws of Ma'at. If yes, where is the Sabbath law in the law of Ma'at? Well, the 42 laws of Ma'at.
How does one follow the law?
The 42 laws of Ma'at was the code. Now, again, when you're talking about ancient people with concepts of universal reverence, every day is Sabbath. They know one day that you're not giving honor to the universal forces. The whole concept of these things, you know what I mean? Or this one day that we're gonna go, one day we're at Valentine's, we're gonna love you just one day. One day we're gonna buy all the children's gifts. One day we're gonna pray. One day we're gonna acknowledge all the women. One day we're gonna acknowledge all these are patriarchal
That's how they
concepts.
do it. That's how they
I
do
have one
it.
for tomorrow.
That's how they do it.
Family day tomorrow.
Right? Yeah. One day for the family. Forget all the other days.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, bro.
Only one day. We'll even give you the day off today to go do something with your family or whatever. Right? But every other day, deny them. Right? So yeah, we know that aspects of the Holy Bible were plagiarized from the walls of Egypt. They also plagiarized stuff from Hindustan. They also plagiarized from Asia. They plagiarized from everywhere.
Yep.
Right? So it's not about where's the Shabbat law in the laws of Ma'at. They always honored their ancestors. They didn't take time off from honoring. So to answer, every day was Sabbath. So if you're going back to ancient foremothers culture, they worshiping their ancestors and the deities or whatever like that on one day only. And every other day you do whatever, but then one day now we're gonna go pray or whatever.
Sabbath isn't that for that though. Sabbath is just a day of rest.
Yeah.
Just like the weekend, but the white man messed that up. So Sabbath is just the seventh day. Yeah, the European. Every seventh day you're supposed to take a day of rest. 6
But
days of work.
the rest is to give honors.
No, well,
The rest is not to.
There's 6 days of work and then there's the seventh day you rest. That's the cycle that we used to follow. Back
Right,
in the days,
right. But again, like if you're looking at the work, like in this day and time, work, we're looking at punch clock. What's work? What when they say work? What they talking about when they say work?
Well, it's the same thing. So
They're not punching no clocks back then.
No, but it's the same thing because even in Egypt, where the Israelites were in slavery, they don't slave on that day. So even the dietary law was given, so you're not supposed to be cooking on that day.
Yeah.
I follow the Sabbath still. So
Yeah.
On that day, you don't cook. You don't light no fire. So even if you're smoking weed, don't light no fire. There's no fire burning. On
Right.
that day.
It's their
It's
complete
certain
rest
days, so
day.
like that day is a day of rest. Things that you would do on a normal day, you just don't do that day. And even if the prophets, they would receive revelation only on Sabbath. Read the Bible, you see that was the day that prophets received revelation. They don't really receive prophecies and stuff like that any other day. It happens on the Sabbath, right? So I think that was a custom that we still should get back to. Because it worked for me.
Yeah.
So I
You had
found it.
comment, bro, back there?
Oh, no, I was just gonna talk about the way they misinterpret certain rituals, like, let's say, Kwanzaa. Kwanzaa, they reintroduced it as a celebration for Christmas, but it's actually supposed to be celebrated all year. And there's certain concepts you're supposed to go through certain stages. But they turned it around and commercialized it. And just changed the whole concept. And
Paganized.
everybody's all messed up with Kwanzaa.
tell me how they can go. Sorry. I hate it.
The Moors were enslaved. This is Darrell Simpson Bay. The Moors were enslaved by reducing their mentality to that of a Negro, black, and colored people. As a man thinketh, so is he. You are from Missouri. I have got to show you, Moors, you sleep too much. Wake up and see the 7 bridges crossing the sky. Can you see you are a people? I'm catching so much grief on this one. I was listening to a video in which the speaker, Minister Farrakhan, quoted Noble Drew Ali. I can't find it in the oral statements and prophecies. I posted it because I wanted to know what is the meaning of the next to last sentence. Wake up and see the 7 bridges crossing the sky. Did the prophet say this? What does it mean? Now, if we look at the changing of the landscape from 1913 to now, one of the reference points of the bridges that I look at is when you're on the highways and the overpasses, when you have buildings connecting to buildings, when you look at the things that he was saying and realize that he was speaking about things to come. He was speaking about things that for you to look out for, to know that it's the time. When you see these things happen, know that it's the time. So to the individual who uses the additional laws, Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire. And let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out of your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. So in exercising your 5 senses, 7 bridges across the sky is going to relate to you in some way, shape, or form. Right? Moors, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality. It's going to relate to that individual in some way, shape, or form, in order for them to get to that next level of their evolution. Right? And then when we have the other side, you know, the metaphysical or spiritual side, 7 is going to be relative to something. Bridges are going to be relative to something. Sky is going to be relative to something. That is not going to be just mundane, earthly, you know, like when they say the angels on the chariot and then people looking for the guy flying in something, right? You know, a lot of things that were said are things that are probably even still waiting to come to pass, right? Because if he's the last prophet, then everything is not going to happen all at once. It's going to be a succession of things that happen. But anybody else have anything with the 7 bridges? Right, so in using 5 senses, things that Noble Drew Ali said are going to be relative or make sense to the individual receiving the information, and that's going to have an effect or impact on them for them. Right, because this is, you know, coming to learn about your nationality and birthrights is a travel or a path that has to be walked.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't nobody telling you about, oh yeah, down there on your path, this is what's gonna happen or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're about to walk the path and see what happens, how it works or doesn't work
Mm-hmm.
for yourself. And again too, like when we do, you know, when we look at things like oral statements and Joali's literature, you know, a lot of it has to resonate from the perspective of trusting in the information, trusting in the fact that he made certain points. Maybe you should go check these things out and see where it leads to, right? That's why everything was done in that way, so that you could never say that you can't, there's not something to go study. So much reference points that he left that go in so many different directions that there's no ending studying. Studying is a continuous process, and the more that you know, the more you realize you don't know, which is supposed to inspire you to study more.
More, yeah.
Right? So it's never gonna be that place of knowing completely. You know, there's always gonna be continuous growth. This is from our first Know Thyself Day. Here is the truth. There are many so-called Moorish Americans who do not understand what nationality is. For your education, the legal definition of nationality is the legal relationship between a person and a state. With this being said, under international law, one's nationality can only be given upon a person by a state which has a government that passes laws which confer the nationality of the state upon the individual. The Moorish Science Temple is not a state which has a government that passes laws of which confers the nationality of Moorish American. These Moorish study groups are not a state which has a government that passes laws of which confers the nationality of Moorish American. All these organizations and groups can do is to teach you about your nationality, and they haven't been doing a great job at it, which is why there is so much confusion. It is recognized by the International Court of Justice by one merely stating or claiming a nationality is not evidence of the nationality that one is proclaiming. It is viewed as assumptive nationality until one's true nationality can be proven pursuant to the law of the state. See case law, City of Minneapolis versus Riem. Hopefully you can assist in putting a stop to the confusion by answering the following question for the record. According to the international law, are you a Moorish American national? If so, what state conferred its nationality upon you?
Something don't sit right with me.
Who was
Something
that?
don't sit right.
Somebody named First Know Thyself Day.
Well, I got a different definition from the Black's Law Dictionary.
All right, what
The
what
first
you got
thing that
for
comes
state
up. Oh,
in
sorry.
the
I
Black's Law Dictionary?
had nationality. Can
You
I-
got nationality? Okay.
The first thing it says is that quality or character which arises from the fact of a person's belonging to a nation or state.
Oh, you didn't mention nation part, okay.
Yeah. Then it comes down. Nationality determines the political status of the individual, especially with reference to allegiance, while domicile determines his civil status. Nationality arises either by birth or by naturalization. And it goes on. So it doesn't, to me, that sounds like you don't have to, it doesn't have to be conferred upon you by any government. You have a mother, you have a nationality. It's that simple.
You're born like that.
That's right, you know.
There it is.
That's Black's Law Dictionary,
So,
4th edition.
So if we are Moorish American national, if so, what state conferred its nationality upon you? Right? The state of
Being born.
the state of pregnancy.
Wow.
Here's the question is, what is
Man.
state? What state do you find yourself in?
Jeez.
State of mind, state of being, state of place. That's the whole point. What is a state? Take off the E, you have an estate. That's your estate that you belong to. What is your estate? Earth. You belong to earth. Hence, your nationality comes from nature, which is earth, which is your nation, which you are a national from earth. Period. Come on, dig into it, brother. Sorry, don't mind me.
Anything else to add on for anybody? Right, so when, like Brother Amari was saying, if the concept was being conferred citizenship by a state, they would have really said, what estate? What estate is conferring the nationality? And then the estate is Morocco, which has flag, has its own government, has all the stuff that qualifies it as a state,
Morocco.
right? And again, nationality is by birth or naturalization. Nujwali told the Moors, we are descendants of Moroccans born in America, which is what makes us Moorish American. So the conferring from the perspective of the question, the state that conferred the nationality is Morocco, but not the kingdom that they see in Africa and all that stuff. Not that Morocco.
Oh.
And from the spiritual level, it's really from your mother that you get your nationality. Right? The womb that you came through is how you get conferred your nationality. And you know, when they start saying under international law and international court says this and international criminal court and all that stuff, 99% of Moors haven't been in that jurisdiction called international criminal court or whatever. So, you know, to speak on matters involving that when we haven't even been there, is you need to talk with them. You need to bring up no international stuff.
Sure.
But, you know, a lot of people's perspective is that, you know, well, they're gonna ask a question and, you know, we're gonna dodge or whatever, right? When it's either you're gonna give a reference point or well, you better go check and find out, let us know, right? Going with the fact of asking about the international, because it's not really an international issue like that. If we're looking at all this being one landmass, and then we got brothers in the east, brothers in the west, brothers all over the place, then it's one landmass. And it's either you're tied to the nation or you're outcast. And all the nations are gonna work together. All the nations are gonna adhere to each other's claim of whatever their nation is. All the people who are against it are gonna gonna deny you.
Yeah.
The fact of you trying to be quote unquote national.
Yeah.
But, you know, again, with regard to the question, this is not something that even comes up with corporate quote unquote state. When Moors say nationality, there's corporate states that say, oh, all right, they're not looking for anything else other than what you tell them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Is what your standing is. You can prove that standing, yeah, right here, bam, okay. No questions asked. That's what you claim? All right. You know what I mean? But like I was talking with Brother Omar about that, the success of exercising of rights happens more in jurisdictions where there's constitutional enforcement. In jurisdictions where you have full-blown democracy, you're gonna have a battle exercising your rights, guaranteed. In the places where you can call a sheriff and somebody answer the phone and all that, you're gonna have an easier time exercising your rights. Because that guy who's the sheriff knows that he's the authority when it comes to law. But he's only gonna exercise that authority if you call him up. If you don't call him up, then he's not talking. He's just gonna do evictions and that's it. Like he's contracted to do now. But when you start enforcing that individual needs to stand up now, he can't just sit back because somebody said all you're gonna do is evictions now, and then he's just gonna go with it. Doesn't mean that takes away his constitutional obligations to the people who shouldn't be having to deal with highwayman putting stuff on their window and boot their car and tow their car. They're not supposed to be dealing with that. You know what I mean? But they're only dealing with that because there's no sheriff. Sheriff is tucked away somewhere in some back office and nobody even knows where the office is. But you know, lieutenant, sergeant, police force guys, you can find them. They got cards, giving cards out and all that stuff. You can find them easy. The sheriff is non-existent, right? And then that was a whole part of, you know, it's like when you go into the records and you see that they replaced Indian with Negro. They replaced Indian and Negro and then said, oh yeah, slave ship, we brought people here on a slave ship called Negroes or whatever. And everybody got played. Just because of them changing just one little thing, we're just going to change this, right? Same thing with when we look at with the question about, you know, where you get your nationality from and you can't be Moorish American. Who says? Especially if there's something from 1930. This stuff that's in the congressional record. This is stuff that's in the Library of Congress. That there's these people here that have a society that they're known as Moorish Americans. That they have their own culture, their own customs, all that stuff like that. Like it's documented by them that this is real. Right?
Just that,
Yeah, more.
you're just on the wall right here, it has all the proclamation
Right.
of all like Chicago, Charlotte.
Yeah.
It's right there, all the states that proclaim that we are Moors, and Jubilee Day is a week, Jubilee week, where nobody
Right.
even exercises that. Where you could just say Jubilee week and they have to respect that because it's on the record.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's on the record. I mean, the people that like to, you know, there's some people, it's only if the European says it, it's valid. So there you are.
Right.
They're telling you.
There's the Europeans saying it. And they're still gonna question it after. Right? Protect the youth. I was trying to get an understanding. What does the word more mean to black people? Probably gonna have to ask black people that. Because I do not know what the word more means to black people. Go ask black people. What does the word more mean to black people? Anybody black want to answer that? Anybody want to pretend to be black?
No,
Answer that?
Sorry, what was the question again?
No, you better ask somebody.
What does the word more mean to black people?
Well, their salvation,
All right.
their evolution, their coming out of the darkness.
Positive.
Oh, well, and let's say, you know, you breaking down what the word black means etymologically, it could be the primogenitor parents to who they are, because that would technically be referring to the European. Really,
Right.
so really, it would be their parents. right? So, but then on another note, I was gonna say to you, Cujo, I was just thinking that part of me had felt that a lot of the times just getting this today, that just wondering maybe we should canvass anyone here who has questions, because a lot of the time, sometimes I feel these questions are almost meant to, almost, you know what I mean? Be, sort of,
Poke the bear?
Huh?
Poke the bear question?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
You know, some guy at home on some computer who's,
Yeah.
you know, been up all night,
Yeah.
eating too many Cheetos and
Or
stuff like
this knocks
that.
him off the fence or something.
Right, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I just wonder, I was just thinking of maybe saying, does anyone here have a question?
Well, I'd like to comment on that last question about black people.
Yeah, sure.
I can't comment on what it means to black people now, but when I thought I was black, the word Moor didn't mean a whole lot to me. The only time I ever heard it was in the play Othello. And then you thought he was some anomaly that lived sometime in those times, during that time when they had this play about Othello, Shakespeare. And he was the only one, you didn't see any more. And he just appeared, then he disappeared, and that was it. We didn't understand, and that was deliberate, right? These things are always deliberate to make us think that we have no history,
Yeah.
you know? Whereas we were here long before Othello, and long after Othello, and all over Europe, and civilized Europe as well as the rest of the world. And but the deliberate thing was to make us think that, you know, you were here, but not so much, just there to, you know, marry this woman and carry on and whatnot. So that's what Moors meant to me, because that's all we ever heard about Moors. We never ever heard about Moors other than, at least I didn't. I don't know about anybody else.
I can say something. The other day I was watching a movie called Patriot. This movie come out long time. Mel Gibson started. Now this movie, Patriot, they talk about the Moors. The general was saying, yo, we kill the Moors.
Yeah.
We had to get out the Moors because the Moors were controlling, and they control all of that, so we had to sweep all from blah blah blah, come right round, and now we're gonna take all of America too, cause I'm gonna tell it, say, yo, we're gonna take the whole of this up, and we're gonna murder everything that's up.
Yeah.
But that's real,
But
that's
him
not
say,
just a movie.
But it's a real thing, in a
Yeah,
movie,
yeah.
I show you, say, yo, the Moors, you remember the Moors, they control everything,
Yeah.
but we had to kill them.
But this is why they started calling us Negro and Black,
Yeah,
so we
we had
wouldn't
to kill
make
them.
the connection to who we were,
Right.
you see.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Well, just a connection in another movie, that new movie that came out last year, Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
One of the brothers in there was Mordo.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about the movie was, at the end, Mordo said, I don't want to have anything to do with this, because the spells that we cast is going to come back and bite us.
Yeah.
So I don't want to have anything to do with this. So he just walked away from it. But the quote-unquote Caucasian kept it going.
Which is,
Kept the script going.
right
So
now.
I'm saying, so as Moors, we don't want to have anything to do with the sorcery. We know it, we understand it, we just use it when we need to, not when we want to.
It's not ritualistic.
It's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
exactly.
Right,
Alright,
I'm
so
saying,
yeah,
so-
it was beautiful. Like I said, the brother was named Mordo. It's like, oh God, how many more times they're gonna kick us
Yeah.
with it?
Yeah, they put it in your face. Whap,
Yeah.
That's right.
whap.
You know
Your
what I'm
kids
saying?
don't know. Whap, your mother don't know. Whap, you still dance. Whap. So they're doing it to us
You know what I'm
now.
saying?
That's what they're doing it. Cause I see all the movies, and I
Yeah,
can
man.
every other 10 or 50 movie I watch, I can relate to Moors.
Right.
There you go.
I can relate to. I can like, I see a man and I with a fear. I mean, I say, watch it. Yo. You know them thing they know.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
say, man,
Yeah.
wake up, you know, but it's like, not fully wake up now.
Yeah. No, it's everywhere.
Yeah, it's like,
Now you can
whoops,
see it.
whoops.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
for the freak, I never know long time.
But you see,
And
that's
then,
it.
but they're Jamaican and from a little man tell me, say, yo, he's a Moors before you become a Rasta.
Yeah.
There you
And I
go.
never
You
overstand
never really
until,
got what you
yeah. And I say Moors before I become Rasta. I say, yeah. You know, black people don't name black people, them name
Yeah,
Moors. But
Yeah.
you don't know. You don't know. Your granny don't know. None of them don't know. The old man tell me that, you know. From a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
And but the other man give me a badge called Yahweh.
Yeah.
And I never forget that too.
Right.
One give me a badge say Yahweh.
Yeah.
And one tell me about Moors.
Yeah.
Well, you know what the
Say,
sad
it's
thing
Moors.
is, though? If we, all the work that you're doing and all the work that other Moors are doing right now, you know what I mean? And we still have, there's nothing wrong with questions, but there's all that when you're coming on the defensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, let a Caucasian tell you about Moors and tell you the same thing that
Yeah.
you're learning here, and it's
That's how it
valid
kill.
then.
Yeah.
You know what I
Kill
mean?
you
It
now,
must
man.
be the truth
Shut up.
because they're telling us now. But when we try to tell you something, it's we're not so sure.
Yeah.
We need some proof and all
Yeah.
that. How come you didn't need any proof when they called you black and colored and Negro and all these other things?
But the amnesia, black, like Morris people, we get
Yeah.
the amnesia, like we get messed up. So it's like no balance.
You know?
So it's hard to really connect sometimes
Well,
because
it's
you
time
already
to wake up and smell
straight
the coffee.
somewhere, or you already
Right.
put your head, say me a Christian or me a this or me a Anglican or whatever you might want to
Well,
be.
no matter which one of those you are, you're still a Moor.
Still a Morris.
It's like
yeah.
saying you're a
Yeah,
Christian,
escape.
so
Yeah.
I'm not a man.
Yeah.
I'm a woman, I'm a boy, I'm a girl. You're going to be a man no matter what religion you
Yes,
take.
yes,
And the
yes.
same thing applies. You know
that
what I mean?
learned. That is what I
There you
learned.
go.
I realized.
What was that? Oh yeah.
Oh no, there's Martin Lawrence had a movie out when he went back in time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
Black
the white guy kept calling him a Moor, and Martin's like, why do you keep calling me that? Why do you keep calling? And he, like, it's just that miseducation that you've never known that you had that history. And Martin, throughout the whole movie, he's like, why is this
Yeah.
white guy calling me a
Because even
Moor?
I never understood either too.
Why is
in the
he calling
movie
me a
too.
Moor? When you watch that, I
Yeah, I
watched it
never know
recently
that.
on the internet.
Yeah, watch it
And
again.
I'm,
Yeah.
and I'm looking at it every time the white guy's like, more. And Martin's like, why does he keep calling me a Moor?
Yeah.
You know?
Recommend that movie to the
It's
people.
Martin
viewers.
Lawrence, I forget the name of
Black
it.
Knight.
Black Knight.
Black
Watch
Knight.
that movie.
Yeah.
Watch that
yeah.
movie. And the guy kept calling
He was
him
a knight,
Moor.
the Martin Lawrence a knight in the movie.
Yeah.
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 Next movie they want to add, a new one that came out, the Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
What's that?
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, they're using words like 1940, 1492. They're using words like pedigree, creed, and I'm like, this is more stuff. It's just take the Caucasian character and put in a Moor.
Yeah.
And then it's
You have
exactly what it is.
a Moorish movie.
Moorish
Yeah.
movie right there.
Yeah. What does the word Moor mean to Europeans or all the other nations?
True, yeah.
Right, so it goes back to that same thing, right? That we have so-called black people that have their own warped whatever of what Moor is, right? But now, when you're talking about Europeans and other nations now, they know about the history of the Moors.
Yeah.
Right?
They laugh at you.
Yeah,
They
big
laugh.
time laugh,
They laugh.
right? Belly bust laugh.
Yeah, they laugh.
Because
You
they
call
know
yourself black.
that
They
we
laugh.
don't know.
Yeah, they laugh.
They know that we don't know.
Every
But
Indian man laugh after you.
all of them. Everybody.
Everybody laugh.
From Moros to More to Moreno to Amore to whatever it is, all the other people, they're not absent-minded. It's just like there was I work at the school, so there was a girl, a Spanish-speaking girl, you know what I mean? So just to find out, like what do you guys call yourself if you look like me in your country wherever you live? She was in South America or whatever. He's like, well, they might say that they're Negro or, you know what I mean? But, that's derogatory. It's derogatory. So that's not really the name then
No.
that they would call you. Well, no, but I know that they wouldn't openly say that they're Negro. Like it wouldn't be something they say out their mouth that they're Negro, right? Now, I already know that the corruption is that it's really Moreno relative to the Moors, right? So, when she was young, she wasn't even there to know what the transfer name was.
Yeah.
She just knew that as far as Negro, you're not calling people that.
Yeah, that's
they're not
wrong.
calling
That's
themselves
wrong,
that.
yeah.
I mean, that's wrong.
so wrong.
That's not what they do.
Yeah.
Right? So all the European nations know. So with regard to what does more mean to Europeans, look at it not even from description, But look at it from,
Mike, pick up.
look at it from what perspective were they looking at these individuals called Moors as? So like, you know, so like we said, you know, Black Knight, they had Martin being a knight,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Knight is not some nobody.
No.
If you're a knight, you're big time,
Big time.
right? If you go to Germany, history of the Moors there, that Europeans know, it's not even a secret. They got statues, manhole covers, all types of stuff with us on it.
Manhole covers?
Yeah, manhole covers with us on it, right?
Drugstore.
The drugstores, you know what I mean? There's all these reference points, you know what I mean? There's all these reference points of them acknowledging the legitimacy of what we're talking about.
Let's not forget the coats of arms and the
Right.
family,
Right?
all that
The whole
stuff.
family crest and all that. Right? This one. How are we Moors and Moorish? Shouldn't we just be one or the other?
Here we go
This is what I
again.
mean about this.
Yeah, right? Okay, so, again, we go back to Noble Drew Ali. He said that we're descendants of Moroccans born in America, which is what makes us Moorish.
That we never know.
So
That's
yes,
a very good point.
Yeah.
We never, most people
That's
in the
not a-
world
that's
don't
not
know
a
that
fact
way
that
you
we
just
know.
say.
yeah,
Because
Yeah.
we hear that before, but me still never know.
yeah,
But now me hear it again.
right.
Come hear that way you just
make
said
a different sense.
but yeah, Morocco, come hear
Yeah.
that long time,
Yeah.
but me never pay that no
Never
mind.
really
But now
registered.
me hear you say it again
Yeah,
in a 2017.
right. It's
So it's
registered
kinda,
different.
yeah, everything like it a register now.
Right, right. So yes, we are Moors and Moorish, cause it's the same thing.
Same
Moroccans.
thing. Yeah. Same
Right.
thing.
And then when you look up Moorish, pertaining to the Moors, is the definition of Moorish. So they don't play separate it, you know what I mean? Separate the ish from the Moor and how people play around,
Nah.
right? Moorish is pertaining to the Moors. Alright, Faith Wilkins. I was redirected to email from YouTube. I have a question about the validity of the temple I went to once for Sunday school. I live in Baltimore, and the temple I went to was where the head is the Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated. Can you tell me more about that? I don't know if I should trust going there or not. The time I went there, the book they used was called the Resurrection Book. I am concerned because just by looking at the front cover of the book gives me chills. Please respond. Right, so there's
Free man. Free.
so after Noble Drew Ali passed, there was, let's say, 4 main factions. There was the Kirkman Bay Moors, right? There was the reincarnated Moors. There was Emiliel, Edward Emiliel, and Nation Islam, right? The branch that the sister's referring to is the same Moors that when we went to Pittsburgh and we had to look through the mail slot and all that stuff to get some attention from somebody inside. You know what I mean? We're outside beating the door down, nobody's coming to the door and all that. These are individuals who recognized what Noble Drew Ali brought and took it in a different direction because, you know, when like you know that something had to have happened when you go to the gravesite. The gravesite of the individual who sisters saying the reincarnated or whatever, his gravesite has a mausoleum that with a gate that you could go in, right? And then Noble Drew Ali's thing is like a little stuff on the ground. Once that's covered with grass, you don't even know that that's there,
Yeah.
right? So if that guy's the reincarnated prophet, and then Noble Drew Ali is the prophet, the prophet should probably have the mausoleum,
Mm-hmm.
and then the nobody, or the
Should
second
just
guy,
the grass.
you should have the grass
Yeah.
stuff, right? So, you know, and then with regard to the book, that was, the Resurrection book is the book where they took this picture and they replaced the prophet with a reincarnated prophet, and then they have the sister on the ground.
With the guy with the sword?
Yeah, with the dude with the sword. So he's standing over the sister with the sword or whatever, and then she's on the ground, laid out, unconscious.
Slow or what?
Right, with her sword,
Yeah.
with her sword like out of her hand or
Yeah.
whatever like that, right? So that's why the sister said when she saw the picture that it gave her chills, because if you know that this is the template,
Yeah.
right?
Don't
This
go in
is
there.
really what it is. But then the people who are saying that, well, you know, we really got it or whatever, they have her on the ground and all that stuff,
Yeah.
and they got dude, you know what I mean,
So
looking at her
Right
funny.
beside a cliff.
Scary.
You know that something's up, right?
It is.
Don't go in there, sis.
Yeah.
On top of which, didn't these reincarnated Moors, weren't they claiming to be the reincarnation of Noble Drew Ali, who were born in his lifetime?
Yeah, they were
You're
around
not
Noble Drew Ali.
reincarnated unless you were born after the person passed
They were-
away.
they were
Yeah.
around
Okay.
Noble Drew Ali.
Ay.
They were around him.
Be dumb. Be dumb.
They
man.
see Noble
This
Drew
ain't
Ali,
transmigration. Is it? No.
right?
What's that? Carnate, like meaning like flesh, right? Going
Yeah,
back
but
in the
you
flesh.
can die and then somebody else comes back.
And versus spirit.
You know what I mean? But these people were alive at the same time as him and saying, "Oh, I'm the reincarnated."
So coming back as a spirit, that's what possession.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess.
You can't have two spirits in your body, so.
Spirit cannot enhance a already used body. It has to have its own body,
Yeah.
its own shell. Cannot come from that old shell. Cannot happen.
Prophets usually don't want to come back like that.
You can't.
So
It's a
quick
used
to-
shell.
They-
You want a used shell?
They did their thing and they're done, man.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Who
Like,
wants anything used?
you know what I'm saying?
You.
Would you? Yeah. Would you?
Man, you right on the manufacturer.
Exactly, man.
Oh boy.
Come on, man. You know,
Now,
want something used.
since you brought that up, might as well bring this up too. This is how deep the corruption goes. So this is Moorish Guide, National Edition, Sunday, January 8th, 2017. And there's a notice in here that you want to put out there for the Moors so you can understand why we keep pushing people to form study groups where they're at and not get caught up in this jurisdiction of Moorish Science Temple of America,
Yeah.
right? You know, there's the Moorish Divine and National Movement. There's the Great Seal, National Association of Moorish Affairs. There's Clock of Destiny. And then ultimately there's the Moroccan/Moorish Empire. When we look at Moorish Science Temple of America, they have to be running the show as a school, a entity for the membership to be able to engage the corporate people, and as a regency to bring the knowledge back and get the processes done for the people to get out of the dead status which they have subjected themselves to through contracts, etc. If Moorish Science Temple is exercising as some place where you go pray to Noble Juali, sing hymns to Noble Juali, do all the religious stuff, then that's under the jurisdiction of corporate state.
Church.
Just like a church. As soon as Moorish Science Temple of America does not handle their civic duties and stick to pushing this religious idea, they are under the jurisdiction of the state. The state is who gives them orders, lets them do whatever it is that they do, whatever. Now, so this notice was from Secretary of State Jesse White, Office of the Secretary of State, September 15, 2016, regarding Moorish Science Temple of America. Dear Mr. Braswell Bay and Mr. Owens Bay, in response to the documents that you submitted to the Office of the Secretary of State for the State of Illinois on or about August 18, 2016 in Springfield, Illinois, please be advised that this office is precluded from reaffirming and or validating your putative entity. Nor can this office change the entity's street address and its officer in charge. As you may be aware, the Office of the Secretary of State has continuously recognized the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc. since its incorporation as a non-profit corporation in the state of Illinois on November 29, 1926. Corporate file number 19009726.
Wow.
The Office of the Secretary of State continues to recognize the Moorish Science Temple of America, Inc., quote unquote in brackets MSTA, and its legal right to the sole use of the corporate name Moorish Science Temple of America, no Inc. Right? Pursuant to Section 104.05 of the General Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1986, the corporate name of a domestic corporation or of a foreign corporation organized, existed, or subject to the provisions of this act shall be distinguishable upon the records in the Office of the Secretary of State from the name or the assumed name of any domestic corporation or limited liability company organized under the Limited Liability Company Act, whether for profit or not for profit, existing under any act of this state. According to your letter of August 18, 2016, you claim that your entity was incorporated on November 29, 1926. Further, you claim that this same entity subsequently amended its existing charter in 1928 pursuant to the Religious Corporations Act. Unfortunately, as stated above, the Office of the Secretary of State continues to recognize the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated, the original corporation and or entity of that name, which was incorporated in 1926 and which has remained in continuous existence since that time. By statute, this office is precluded from recognizing any other entity that claims the name of Moorish Science Temple of America. Obviously, there appears to be a disagreement as to what entity is rightfully entitled to the use of the name Moorish Science Temple of America. That is an issue that must be decided in the courts of the state of Illinois. Absent a court order to the contrary, this office cannot reaffirm or validate your entity. Respectfully, Terrence J. McConville, Assistant General Counsel, CC, Cook County's Recorder's Office, Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated.
What, was these people writing then to try to usurp something?
Yeah.
Like, really?
Still,
Now the interesting part,
That was the interesting part.
The interesting part is that the people who the Secretary of State were speaking in favor of were the infiltrated people.
Okay.
The infiltrated people were the same people that Emily Ill wrote against
Okay.
in the 1930s. So this is what Mealy Ill had to say about the same people who the Secretary of State is backing and saying that the fraud guys are a fraud, but they're not recognizing the fraud of the people who are claiming that Secretary of State backs them. By statute, by the way. Not by constitutional anything like they were taught.
Statute.
By statute. Right? So this is Friday, 1930. Friday, September 26, 1930.
Wow.
Islam. Brother C. Kirkman Bey. Remember they said that in 1926 is when they got the official acknowledgement from the Secretary of State that they're the legitimate Moorish Science Temple of America, INC. Right? This is 1930. So this is 4 years later. Right? Brother C. Kirkman Bey. This is to notify you that the above named organization, Moorish Science Temple of America, in convention September 15th to 20th, rescinded by voting out the mistake made by the second annual convention of 1929. And in so doing, you hold your membership roll as when your prophet was here. And we hope you will still cooperate with the organization under the 5 principles. We hope further that you will comply with this notice and govern yourself accordingly. There is but one supreme grand advisor in the Moorish Science Temple of America, that being Noble Jew Ali. And anyone else attempting to be, from now on, is assuming authority of himself and is liable to the penalties of the law. Peace. Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Jew Ali, founder, Emily L. Chairman. And then to validate, just go to msta1913.org and you'll see they have a list there of all the past Grand Sheiks and all the stuff like that, and you'll see C. Kirkman Bey's name up there. So when they look at, obviously there appears to be a disagreement as to what entity is rightfully entitled to use the name Moorish Science Temple of America. Obviously, this is a state now. The state knows that obviously there's a disagreement as to who should be the real guys.
Still confused.
Right? Still confused. And why is it that it's still confused? Because Moors have not taken their place in the affairs of men.
Exactly.
Moors have taken the place, Moors have taken a place, Moors have taken some places, but they haven't taken their place.
Yes. Right. Yes.
And their place is that we don't need them. Their place is that we're Aboriginal indigenous to the land.
That's it, period. Your birthright.
So, being that this is birthright, being that this has to do with us adhering to what Noble Jew Ali laid down,
Check. Leave it at that.
so-called state, municipal, whatever, whoever, they're gonna do what it is that they do. And then they have their little minions that work with them, right? Spreading the misconcepts
Propaganda.
that have become a reality, right? Because remember, these people are not the authority of Moorish Science Temple. They're people who came later and put something in place that had nothing to do with what Noble Jew Ali, whatever. But you know, because they could strong arm certain people and they were having affairs with certain people, they got access to certain legitimate documentation that they can now use to say that they're the credible ones. Omar had something.
When you were saying initially that you were saying that there was the fraud and then the fraud's fraud, but the prophet was the one who initially sort of entered in the NSTFA into the Cooks County. So that was the legitimate. That was the legitimate sort of activation.
Let's go check. We organized as Moorish Temple of Science in 1925 and were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois,
1926.
November 26.
Isn't that what you were making reference to? Sorry, because that's what I'm missing. Isn't that what you're making reference to within the article that they were then trying to sort of come back and sort of supersede that one? That.
Right, because that wasn't the ink yet. That wasn't.
This isn't the ink. That wasn't the ink.
This is not the ink yet.
Ink. But it technically is the ink, is it not?
Not if it's a civic organization.
Oh, so, right. I see what you're saying. So now there's another entity
So
on
now
top of that.
the name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to Moorish Science Temple of America in 28.
Ink. Oh no.
Right?
Moorish Science Temple of America in 28.
So this is corporate guys, right? This is what the corporate guys say. As you may be aware, the Office of the Secretary of State has continuously recognized the Moorish Science Temple of America Incorporated.
That's the ink.
Incorporated, right?
Right.
Since its incorporation as a non-profit corporation in the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926.
That's the civic one.
That's what Noble Juali says is the civic one.
Real one.
That's what Noble Juali
Yeah,
says is the
yeah.
civic one. But that's what these guys are saying is the religious ink.
Shoot.
So they're trying to
Man,
then
then
put
turn it
another,
around. Flip it, man,
they're
flip
trying
it,
to
aye.
put another title on the civic one.
On the civic one.
And change its.
But who do they get to do it?
Yeah,
Secretary of State.
the corporation.
Right.
It's not the Moors doing it.
No.
It's the Secretary of State that's
the Moors gonna do
issuing
that
this
to
notice.
themselves.
So that's a
Yeah.
naturalization pathway that's happening.
And
So
then
what you're
that-
saying is,
and then that's
so
who
what you're saying is,
That's
the
who the Kurtman gay guys, the naturalization guys.
Yeah.
so the big brother came in there and changed it around for them, so to
For
speak.
them, so that it looks in their favor,
Yeah.
as they've been around since 26.
Wow.
But
When they haven't been around since 26.
Right.
Because according to Noble Juali,
Right.
Prophet.
we organized as Moorish Temple of Science in 25 and were incorporated as a civic organization in 26. But it was still Moorish Temple of Science. It wasn't Moorish Science Temple yet.
okay.
They're saying Moorish Science Temple, 1926. Juali's saying Moorish Temple of Science, 1926. Incorporated, but it wasn't Moorish Science Temple.
Right.
Moorish Science Temple didn't come around till 28,
Yeah.
as far as the name.
And here it is.
So where'd the 2 years come from?
Here it is.
So why are they trying to go past the one they can use,
Right?
But you can't.
but trying to go back because they're trying to do some scams?
Which lets you know who has jurisdiction over Moorish Science Temple of America today. That's why told Moors, don't worry about Moorish Science Temple of America. Yeah, but we can go, these guys say that they're going to give us a charter and that. It's under the state. That's not going to be a legitimate anything. That's going to be under the state. Where they have jurisdiction in all your affairs. Now let them know everything that's going down under your roof or whatever. But you're supposed to be autonomous. Why does foreigner have to know about what's under your roof if you're saying you're Moorish American and they don't have jurisdiction in your affairs? Right? And remember that, you know, they boldly put this notice in their paper. They boldly told on themselves in their own paper. Right?
But they're also saying that there's now another faction on top of that who's trying to claim that name.
Right. Well, now when we look at the faction that is trying to make the claim that the state denied.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, now the last eyewitness account of this individual, Braswell Bay, right, that I saw was him wearing all white, right? And everybody else wearing all black. Him, I don't know where they were going, where they were coming from, or whatever, but he's walking freehand, right? And one of the guys in the all black is holding an umbrella over him. Walking.
Wow.
Right?
That's an end.
So these are, those are the individuals who are the secondary people. And then the primary people who were the fraud are the ones who had their fez, sultan on their fez and stuff like that. No Jwali said don't mark your fez. These guys have stuff all written on their stuff. You know what I mean? The letters with Mealy L explaining the whole thing about how these guys came in the convention and tried to sneak their little position in the convention record in order for them to make a claim that they have some type of authority over Moorish Science Temple and Moorish Science Temple members and all that, which is why he even wrote all those letters. Even up to 1930 he was still writing letters talking about the fraud of these individuals that were pretending to be Moorish Science Temple, right? But they weren't really that. That's why they had to attach ink on it and things like that in order to justify their position. But then when you check the record and the timeline, and you realize that, hold on a second, these people have Secretary of State putting out notice on their behalf that they've been around since 26. When it's documented that they only been around since 28. It's documented fact in the literature, but then you know, what is it that Moors are going to do about it? You know what I mean? It's yet to be seen. Means and what are Moors going to do about it? Meaning the ones who are part of that, the ones who are in that they're hyping. Yeah, Secretary of State recognized our stuff. Well, hold on a second, but Secretary of State is recognizing your stuff with a botched date. How is that legitimate now?
It's in a sense it's non-protunct. They're trying to backdate their,
right. They're trying to backdate their stuff under the guise that people are stupid out here. And they don't have all the information that Noble Juali left, so they can, you know,
hide the real thing. Hide the real deal.
And this is how blatant. This is how blatant it is, right? Keep in mind that on the front page, right? Keep in mind on the front page, they have the same article saying that the stuff was founded in 25 and all that.
25 now. Wow.
No, like saying they have the original article saying the original dates, even though the notice is saying
26
warp date. Right?
So they just jumped them.
There's something.
And another significance of this particular form, Noble Juali did something to this form that got it through. Most people is not going to really recognize what it is unless you actually study the form. But it's at the top of the form. Just look at it closely. If you don't see it, just keep looking. But it's something that Noble Juali did, basically that you can't copy that without that particular sign on it. And once that sign is on there, that's the official document. Because the document went directly to the mayor once it was done.
Directly to where?
To the mayor at that time of Cook when it was done. So anybody could walk and say, well, we're part of Moorish Science Temple of America. If this document is not part of it, it ain't happening. Period. It's free. And that's how you could tell the fraud from the real.
Do you have the document?
Sorry?
Do you have the document?
No, I'm passing it around. He's looking at it. He's trying to find it right now, which is how good. I'm just saying.
What
It's
is it, flying ball door?
not one man. No, it's just the magnitude of what Noble Drew Ali brought for us that we just, as he said, if I tell you everything, you're going right back to sleep. Straight up. And
And if I wake you all up at once, you're gonna tear up some stuff and
yeah,
you know,
like,
nothing.
you go crazy. Like the stuff Noble Drew Ali did for us, man, shit. You're not like, just, it's amazing.
Right.
It's, you see that?
Any other questions or
Did you see that?
comments?
The upside down R?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Yeah, well,
I never.
Okay, well,
I just want to comment on
The word, I think the words.
the explanation,
yeah.
like how powerful it is. Because I went to redo the social insurance card, and even though I just wanted to have my fez on and all rights reserve it, so they're telling me, well, I can't do it because next time I could retake my picture would be like expired, which is in 2022 or whatever. So I'm like, whatever then. So they said, so I'm like, see, it's my right. So I was trying to challenge them, and they called whoever on the phone, but whatever. People on the phone said write a letter, right? So then I just wrote a letter explanation with my straw, and in a writ form, and I didn't have my appellation on it, just the straw man. Sent it in, and then they sent me back letter saying that, oh yeah, you're good to go. Here's our number, our contact. If you have any problems, just make sure they call
it's
us.
the word, man,
You
explanation.
know what I mean? Like, make sure that I don't have no problems.
Straight up.
Well, another thing too, I just realized that the service Ontario that I went to, one of them that I went to in Mississauga, at Eglinton, they was like, well, we can't do it because we are private. You're private. Well, only certain Service Ontario could do it because we're private, we're not even government, we're just
Yeah.
You're just an office or
it's just an
whatever?
office. I'm like,
No, what
wow.
they've done is they've outsourced, they've
It's a
basically
corporation, yeah,
outsourced
it's a
all
company.
of the,
And it says it right at the
corporate
back of the.
corporate
there's a-
activity, they've sort
thing.
of sold
Who
these
owns it?
things out
Check
as
it out.
little franchises,
Yep.
so that they're
Like the
doing.
different departments or whatever?
Yes.
Yeah, so for example, when I was doing some stuff with their license, I went in there and right on the wall, it says owned by
Yes.
Ching Chong, whatever. No, but really, an Asiatic.
The Service Canada?
The Service
office or
Canada
whatever?
thing,
Yeah.
we are now going
Yeah,
through
nice.
their license,
They got
and
it.
now outsource that. I think that that's again what we were talking about, the fact that these guys are on their way down,
Yeah.
they're basically selling everything.
Time's up.
They're selling, you know, the
Selling
faucets.
everything,
Yeah, they're selling what works.
That's crazy.
But did you say it was for social insurance? You had to take a picture?
No, this,
No, my health card.
Oh, your health card, okay.
Yeah, so they told me to go to the specific office, the one, and you can tell the big difference.
Yeah.
And
When you go there,
Yeah.
there you have to get a ticket, and
Mhm.
wait,
Yeah,
you have to
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
explain why you're there for. This one, you're just go online and just
Yeah.
do your thing. It's
Yeah,
like,
for my health now.
wow, it's like, you just told on yourself, like, we're private, we're not
Yeah.
even government. That's
Yeah.
what they just told me straight up.
Yeah.
well,
Because-
I don't see I think there's not a confusion, but I think what you're missing is, you're missing the fact that it's still tied to the so-called official nature of it. What they're doing is the actual activity that you're doing can be done at these satellite offices. That's the difference. So they're held to the so-called sort of official democratic way that it can
Yeah.
be done, but you can do it, that's because what they're trying to do is cut their overhead.
Yeah.
You wanna open up there, and what you realize is everything you do, you have to pay a little finance for.
Right.
Whatever it is, your picture, I don't know if the picture you had to,
No, the picture.
you didn't have to charge, you didn't have to pay, but anything you're doing there, there's a service
There's a little
fee,
fee.
service
Yes.
fee attached to it.
Yes.
So that's where it is. They're not, but they're still held to the same requirements. That's why they send you to the big boy office,
Sure.
right?
Right.
With the real men supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, oh, and another thing too, I want to add to that, with the explanation, they addressed me with small caps, so
Oh, yeah,
they
yeah,
didn't
yeah.
address me as a
Correct
small
it.
Yo,
cap.
man, they know what the flip X
They
is.
know what they're
So I'm
doing.
like, that's what really said, wow,
Yeah.
this X relation
Mhm.
is powerful.
Well, yeah, that's the whole point with everything. I like, case in point, quote unquote Black History Month started a couple of weeks ago, and a brother and I sent my documents to the trustee. Right, I put exclamation in the straw name. He didn't put anything. They called me back. They wrote me back. What can we do? Blah 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 blah. They haven't even acknowledged me yet.
Wow.
Nothing. They're still teaching his children the same stuff. He's like, oh, how come they did it with me and not with you? I said, bro, what did I tell you?
Explanation. Can you explain that explanation?
Ex-
What do you actually proclaim your?
Let's jump on that for a minute.
The word's on poem, man. You see? So
Let's jump on that for a
So,
minute. Read it out.
Yeah, the legal
Yeah.
terms to that, what do
Whoa.
you actually?
Okay, let's jump on that for a
Yeah,
minute.
right away.
I find that's easier too when I'm over the phone, like dealing with like Roger or something.
Yeah.
Like it was harder before saying corporate fiction,
Yeah.
straw man,
Explanation.
all this stuff. It's a big
Explanation,
headache
no.
to-
So they know what the terminology is.
They don't want to hear this.
But they don't want to hear it.
That's the way y'all come from.
Remember that,
Yeah.
that any acknowledgement from us to them is or ending them.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So their whole thing is try to
Keep a
deal
blind.
with us
Keep a blind.
either in silent,
Yeah.
not really deal with us
Yeah.
so everybody knows,
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Or-
hush it, they hush.
or railroad
Hush,
railroad
hush,
from the
yeah.
top. Like you're not getting through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, X relation. Upon relation or information. Legal proceedings which are instituted by the Attorney General or other proper person in the name and behalf of the state, but on the information and at the instigation of the individual who has a private interest in the matter, are said to be taken on the relation, X relation, of such person who is called the relator. Such a cause is usually entitled thus, state ex rel. So, basically what it means is, once you put X relation, you have authority from the Attorney General to write this document. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's powerful because like when they inaugurated the Prime Minister,
Mm-hmm.
if the Attorney General didn't agree to sign the Prime Minister in,
Okay.
he had no power.
All right, but here's the whole cusp of the Attorney General. You're the Attorney General. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a matter. It's like it's a double-edged sword for them. Okay, you're writing it. All right, he got power from the Attorney General, or he's the Attorney General. One of the two. You have information on that name. That name is not you, and that's the point that we're getting across to more s'mores, is that the name that you
Yeah,
have
give
on
me.
these documents,
Yeah,
that is
that's not
you.
we.
They're not
It's
sure.
really not.
They're not
It's
sure.
really not we, for
That's
sure.
it.
Who are the real attorneys?
So that's where you separate
I
you
just
from the
wanna-
document.
I just wanna-
You have one second, Omar. You have information on that name.
Yeah.
That is not you. So it's like they
That's
see
the
it
only
as,
connection you have to it.
that's it.
That there's information relative to it that
Only
somehow
that,
you're tied to it.
That's why it's
But
private.
you're speaking
That takes
as a proper person.
Yes.
so that takes you out of their jurisdiction.
Yes.
Right, because they're looking at the X relation
Yeah.
as all caps.
Yes.
Well, that's what
Huh.
that's what I wanted to make clear.
Huh,
If they spell
yeah.
your name with a capital first letter and then small case, then they are talking, that is what your mother had named you.
Yeah.
That's not an accident, that's not
Yes.
who you are, it
Right.
is who you are. What makes it fraudulent is the fact that it's all caps.
All
And it's a
caps.
corporation that they're getting you to then claim to be the.
That you're that.
that you're the security to,
Yeah.
and that you are then,
Yes.
that you are then backing all
Fraud.
that stuff.
Right.
So
Fraud.
it's rel part to it the ex-rel or the part that you have
fraud.
the ability to speak on it is that has to do with you because you have information on it, because that
Yes.
was technically you
Yeah.
who your mother named, but they then, through a twist, created a
Yes.
corporation out of it.
Yes.
Right.
And that's where they're then doing this the illegal stuff to it
Yeah.
Right.
behind. So that is where it is. If they, you'll notice if you keep your eyes open, some
That's
stuff
it,
you get
man.
from certain of these corporations does spell not the corporate government stuff, but certain, like CAA, for example, sends me my stuff with a capital,
Yeah.
small case, whatever.
Right,
We're
right.
talking to the true person. That's who your mom named, right? That's not who you're not claiming. But what happens is somewhere there they start changing that all cap stuff and bringing it in, and that's where they're then attaching it to that stuff.
Right. And that's also in line with the last question. A woman who has worked for over 30 years, has been studying for roughly 2 years, putting in a name correction at the work, and they told her that she has to change the name also on the social, right? When she went to the work to give the paperwork, they said, well, we can only accept it if the socials change as well,
That's not true.
right? Right? Whereas that's not true,
No.
because the social people tell you don't give the social,
Exactly.
right? As well, if she's going in there to say, I'm doing a name correction, and they're letting her know that, well, you can't just do it like that. You need to change the actual instrument that they're using in order to give her the job. This is where it gets into learn to live within contracts. And signing the contract so that you can't be held liable to anything that happens, right? Which again goes back to X relation. You letting them know that you're the only reason you are this all caps thing is based on information and relation. Like that's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
Other than that, I have nothing to do with that all caps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But remember that being that this is a corporation and they're a corporation, that's why they can tax this. And this has to pay tax. That's why this needs a license. That's why this has to get money taken off the check. That's why this has to, whenever CAS says whatever, they have to give up the children and all that stuff. Because this corporation is really owned by them. And we're pretending that it's us or that we own it or whatever.
That's why you separate yourself from it.
And that's the separating yourself from it. X relation. When you talk from improper person and anything engaging
In them.
the all capital letters relationship with them, it's X relation. Proper person, X relation, all capital letters name.
Well, that's huge, because like when you go into court and you're using that terminology, ex relation, the judge is, the magi, has no jurisdiction over you because you've used that terminology and you've just separated yourself from any authority that he
Right,
has.
exactly.
This is where
So their authority,
He's just-
their authority
he's
comes
just-
from having power
And he's
over all
gonna be
caps.
frustrated because you just separated yourself from the paperwork.
Right.
They're gonna try to
Right.
trick you back
So,
in.
yeah, he's
Then
gonna
they're gonna try to
he's
get
gonna
you back
try to
in.
word you. No, he's gonna try to word you back into
Yeah,
his jurisdiction.
no doubt.
Which
Well, see,
I've been arguing for the longest time that if I had that terminology, I'd piss off a lot of the franchise.
But you see, that's the whole point with the whole thing. Is
Yeah,
that
because
even
that little tiny
with
phrase.
yes, with your
would
proper
screw up
person.
the whole thing.
Yes, with your proper person.
Yeah.
Right? You walk in there, you don't need to I am and
Yeah,
go down a long
yeah,
list. It's
yeah.
just exclamation that name.
And then it's just
Sure.
gonna screw up the whole thing.
That's
He's
it.
gonna have to try to pull you back in.
That's what they try and do. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of you overstanding the power of the words.
Explanation.
They can only feed
Right.
off
Yeah,
the
because
course.
a lot of times
They
I
can
go
only-
in there and I won't give him a name. I said, my mother calls him Carl, and then the whole time I got the administrator yelling at me, I got the guard running behind me. I've been arguing for almost half an hour in a room. They take everybody out the room, and we're still getting past. We still haven't got past the name.
Yeah.
And then we get it.
They don't have jurisdiction over
They don't have
flesh and blood
flesh
being.
and blood.
No.
Right?
And then they ask me for my
Corporate
address. I don't
construct.
have an address, I have a dwelling. There we go again, another half an hour we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was just say explanation.
Gee.
No, not necessarily, because that might make it go
On the
longer.
document, and the whole place will be silent.
But that will make
But
it
this,
go
but this,
yeah.
but
They
this might
can't
make
go
it go
forward.
longer.
They can't go forward with
Right,
that.
exactly. But in order to get quote unquote dismissal or whatever,
I know.
they have to
There's
go
a lot of-
forward.
Yeah, but that
So
right
so
there
so
would shut
like
them
this
up.
is the shutdown.
Yeah.
But they're gonna shut down
Yeah.
until you come back
Yeah.
in 2 months.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah,
And
Well, like I
then they
said,
shut down and then
we
until you
talked
come
this-
back again.
We talked about this before. What
Yeah.
happens is you have to decide yet again how far you want this to go.
Yeah.
Right?
You
I'm
sit
sitting
there and
arguing-
argue with them.
I'm sitting there arguing some little $30 ticket. They're
Yeah.
gonna come back again.
Yeah.
If not, whatever. A lot of the times you need to acquiesce to then say, okay, I'm gonna take this because ultimately it's fraudulent from the get up to the get down. Right? But
Yeah.
they
And
need
they
to
try
plan.
to threaten you with the
All that stuff, they
incarceration.
throw you
Oh
out there,
yeah,
it's
they're gonna say,
cartel.
oh well, we're gonna send you to jail. We're gonna do this to you. They're gonna.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you look at it like if you look at it from the perspective of what is it that you're
Looking to.
like what is it that you're losing, right? So if
It's what they're
if the
losing.
if the ticket's $20
Yeah.
and it's gonna cost you $50
$50.
to send out whatever you gotta send out, you might as well just pay the 20, get these people off your back.
I'll let them bring
You
it
know what I
down
mean?
to 10.
Instead of because you know you got
True.
because they got your time. So
They
you're
will
in
bring it
there,
down.
so now they got your
They will
time.
bring it down.
And
Right? However long that they recess every 30 minutes just because you're in there. Right? You know what I mean? So time that you're not getting back. Right?
Well, they
More than
stopped-
likely they're gonna
They
adjourn.
stopped taking my motions. They stopped
Right.
taking my
Yeah, but
my affidavits.
Yeah.
So, oh well, we can't take that. But you're supposed to take it. Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but it comes
we changed the rule
but
and
it
all
comes
this
back
and
again
that.
to the
So
thing
I
of
walk in with the prosayer
Yeah, but the
and I'm
status-
getting
the
the prosayer the
status
paper
when
and she
you-
won't
Yeah.
touch it either.
but you
No,
have
not
to
touching
be
it, but
but
she-
you have
they
to
want to
be
push their paper
proper
on you.
person.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
you're not
you
proper
ain't
person,
subject matter, you wait
then
up.
they're gonna do whatever it is that they do because they have jurisdiction over this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So this is why when we use the X relation, right? It's already by using X relation, you're setting up the fact that you're improper person, which
You
is
gotta
what
stay there.
gets the jurisdiction off of them.
Shake.
But then your position, being that you're improper person now, is not to fall back into
Yeah,
the jurisdiction
yeah.
by arguing subject matter, which means that we pass status. If we're talking subject matter, we pass status, then we might as well continue on with the trial and get this
Yeah.
thing done or whatever,
Keep
because
arguing.
you know you're just holding stuff up right now. Which is what they get mad at. That when Moore's coming in there, they're holding up the stuff, but they're not
yeah.
putting it. They're not articulating it for Moore's to understand that. Well, you pass status,
Yeah.
so now you're just holding them up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're really being a disservice because
Now you mean it.
like we passed status. So what are you talking about
Jumping
jurisdiction
back
and
and
stuff?
forth.
It's not irrelevant now. You know what I mean? We already got jurisdiction.
They
So
already got jurisdiction.
either make your plea, whatever like that, so we can get to the end of the stuff, or you know what I mean, bring
Get
us
out.
a better argument that's
Get
Yeah.
gonna make us.
Yeah, basically they threw
You know what I
threw
mean?
it back to me.
Well, but okay, but
So
think
they-
about what just happened.
Yeah.
Like you got to go back in May.
Yeah, because they keep arguing. I stand my ground and just sit there
But
half an hour
But
just to
your
get past the
foundation is
name.
not sound though,
you
because you're not, your order of operation is not on point. You have the elements, you have the ingredients, but you don't have the order of operation. Because X relation, what it should do for you, it should set you up 3 steps to checkmate, as opposed to playing the whole 2 hours of the game. So once you get what X relation does, once you wield that sword, then you're taking heads. Because now, with your whole argument, you're just going in circles with it. You're trying to put other ingredients in the soup that don't make sense. So once you hit X relation, then you move forward, because once you got your status, X relation, you're saying, I am the person who can speak on that information. You know, so and then you move forward. And another thing regarding that is, it's kind of like in scripture how it's said that being of the world, but not being in the world, but not of the world. So you can be in it, you know, do whatever you want, but you're not of that world. That world didn't create you, and again, it's the world You know, we deal with, as Moors, we deal with the earth. We deal with, you know, the material as far as water, the elements, fire, earth, air, and all that stuff. So when you get into that, it's a matter of really and truly, and I think that's why the prophet says study, 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 because you have to go in all in. This is not a trial and error thing. This is all in. The trial and error the prophet did for us. He went through everything for us. All we have to do, stay home, sit down, study, and just go over things over and over in your head, over and over in your head. And then, you know, it's easy after that.
I just want to comment on the question that the sister asked about going to work and having the employer telling her she's got to change her
Social.
change the name on social.
Yeah.
That doesn't hold any water because I got married many years ago and I had a lot of my ID in my married name, but I never work under my married name. But I still use the same social insurance number, so that really doesn't hold any water. You know what I mean? It's the same thing, whether you're using this name or that name, you still have the same number. You know what I mean? Yeah, so. Yeah.
Just a comment on when you're in front of the administrative office or the so-called courts. I mean, the only thing I'd say to do just from experience is once you state your status and you exonerate yourself, or you put your appellation on the record, you exonerate yourself, and that's it. After that, if they have to say it, the next thing you say is prove your jurisdiction, you know, which is their delegation of authority and their status, which is, you know what I mean? And obviously they're not gonna put that on the record, and then that's it. You let them talk all they want, and then you know. But once you keep on talking with them, they're trying to get you back into their jurisdiction. So the less you talk to them, is the less chance they could bring you back. Right? And then you let them play. You let them play it out, because as long as they don't have jurisdiction, it has to come to your favor somehow. I don't know what they try to do with me. They try to drop the charge that I had, a letter, a doctor's letter to say I missed the courts. Right? They basically kept that charge, and they threw out the weed charge, which they had probably more chance of anything. But that just tells you that they had no intention of, they just want me to come back another day. Because when I came back, they're going to say, oh, well, he has a letter, so we can't adjudicate it. Which,
they know they're not going to get no money.
So it's also, I just see the game that they play. They're just trying to get you back for another day. It's all finance, it's all fiat in their mind. They don't really care about anything else. Right? So basically, I mean, I learned that because when I walked out of the court, I dismissed the charge and walked out. If I just left the building, it would probably been all good. But I stick around because I didn't know what's going to happen because it's the first time I ever did that. So I sticked around to see what's going to happen, and I realized that once I went back in there, I kind of went back in their jurisdiction again.
Exactly.
And I had to redo kind of it over again, even though they said that, yeah, just come back here, we're just going to throw it anyway. But they still try to play their little charades and subject matter stuff again.
Why them tricky?
Two things I just want on, because
Tricky, that's all I know.
in my studies, I think we can wrap up after this.
Yeah.
One, that a lot of the times, it's the breach or it's the fail to appear, which is much more severe than the charge.
Exactly.
Because that charge is much more about the disrespect to the court, other than the thing. So don't for a minute think that the recharge doesn't hold more merit than the fail to appear.
Yeah.
Just so that you can be clear on that one. The recharge is the joke to them. It's the fail to appear and the breach where they have the real strength behind it. And secondly, I was going to talk to you about this. Walking out of that court, though you've answered the question, walking out of that court, you're very smart to have stuck around, because you better find out what the resolution is. Because if you walk out, a lot of the times they just call that shit back up, ex parte it, then you got a bench warrant for your arrest. So don't always know that you got to stick around to hear the resolution to it. So you're walking out like that. It was Allah who got you to come back in there. Because if you had walked out, right now your shit would have been 10 times worse. Yeah. Right? They were looking to see if you kept walking. Because then they could have said anything.
Yeah.
Right? So just that's for everyone.
And they kind of trap themselves
Right.
when you came back.
That's right, that's
Which
right.
is why they had to say, okay, you know what, like, we go through it again, but just say that you're whatever and we'll
Well, and they have to
we'll
do,
still
they have,
dismiss it.
they have to do that for the records,
Yeah,
that's what they did in
yeah,
my
for their
case
record,
too.
yeah.
They have to do it, because once you put that paperwork there, they're done. But the issue is, like you're saying, for the paperwork and the bookkeeping, a resolution has to happen that doesn't create a case law jurisdiction where you can then go back to that. That's the whole deal. There's two types of law, the law that's written down and then case law. Case law can trump regular law because that says a judge has decided this.
Yeah.
Then you can hearken back to that case law. So that's why they never rule in favor, well, they can't even rule in favor of that, but that's why they never have a decision that says you've won on this Moorish nationality stuff. Because then that becomes the precedent that everything falls apart on. They
Yeah.
throw it out, or they dismiss it, or they dangle it, or they say, you say your name and we throw it out. Yet again, right though, you're paying your taxes, that pays the judge's thing, he goes home, he's still going to Florida. Right?
With Betsy.
With Betsy.
This is going, Morris. That'll be our closeout. Next week,
Right.
we're gonna be
Ottawa?
doing Ottawa, Friday, Saturday.
Oh, it's Saturday.
Well, it's the event Saturday.
Right.
The event Saturday, so there's gonna be no class next Sunday. And
What time you guys leaving here?
Well, the issue is,
some are leaving Friday night, some are leaving Saturday morning.
Morning
and
Friday
are
night.
you, do you wanna shut
Morning
it down?
Friday
Or
night.
think you wanna shut the
Morning.
camera down, you wanna keep it?
What's this?
So yeah, I think what we have to understand is that, I think Osiris, you're going, or no? And who are you taking with you?
Well, I will probably, but the Noir is probably the.
Nora, and then are you going, so do you have any spots in your advance? Okay, so because basically, I think there may be a spot or two here, Mocha, I think you're getting a conveyance too, right? So there might be a spot in Mocha's conveyance as well. Amari, I don't know, I think if you're gonna go, I mean, you're gonna.
I'll know by
But
Wednesday.
you'll have your own conveyance, right? Your
No.
own- Huh?
No, I'm gonna,
Okay, so then we should.
well, we'll talk about it after.
Well, we should discuss, wait, from what I've understood, there's two conveyances right now
Mhm.
that possibly have a possibility of 3 spots from.
But
the
who's
government.
staying till the Sunday?
Huh?
Does everyone stay till the Sunday?
Well, that's the issue too.
That's
From
the
what
next
for
question.
for sure what I know is that Mocha, who's traveling there, is staying, so if anyone's going
Stay
to
till
Mocha.
Sunday, I don't want to come back right away.
Right.
Well, it's the whole thing and what we're learning.
I don't know,
Rush come back.
Cyrus, are you
No,
planning to
Saturday,
come back,
yeah.
are you planning to come back Saturday?
We
We
usually
learn
do the rush.
get the knowledge.
No,
No?
I want to stay.
Similar to brothers them.
All right, but just to let everyone know, even still, My
Yeah,
plan,
we're still-
our plan is we're leaving out of there Sunday morning, because I have to get the rental back by 3 and I got Slade on Monday, so we're looking to leave out of there at 9. I'm looking to leave myself. Well, so it doesn't have any, so anyways, anyone who's here, who's looking to hook up with these people needs to talk. Kenta, you, I think so, either Mocha or Cyrus.
Cyrus, cool.
And then we're doing, and we can be in contact about this, we're talking with a few of the Moors down there, there may be, I'll figure out what exactly is going on with sleeping conditions, I could probably find that out by tomorrow. But ultimately, some of you Moors may have to look at, figure out where
Yeah.
you're going to sleep.
Bring
In
a
a
blanket
sense.
for the lease, man. For the lease. Them thing
You know, I'm sure in a place like
That's
Ottawa.
enough. That's enough.
Huh?
That's soft.
All right.
Yeah,
For the
go
lease.
across Steels, go straight across Steels.
Okay, so.
Man travel on ship for
So, and then I'm wondering about the weekend afterwards too.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah.
Well, I think everyone has email, is on the email list? Everyone's on the email list?
Okay, go across there
No.
again.
Who's not on the email list?
Not on the email list.
All right, so
Go by the number.
we'll know Nora, we will call him if anything, because
Yeah.
there may not be classes the
Well,
week
the week
afterwards. So just to let you know, and then further on to that, we're gonna have on March 25th, we're gonna have a vernal equinox event, which will be happening at, where is it, Rouge Valley, Mocha and I, the Moorish Culture Club will be having a ceremony to usher in the Moorish New Year, which is the first day of spring. So there'll be sort of a ceremony where we sort of give some offerings,
Yeah.
possibly make our intentions for the year, and keep it moving.
All right.
Awesome. Sound good.
So on that, Islam,
Islam.
just close out. The left two on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth. Peace. Freedom. And justice. Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide. And my salvation. By night. And by day. Through his holy prophet.
Noble Drew Ali.
Islam.